decided to watch an over an hour-long video of mostly screen-captured recordings with my terrible inbuilt laptop microphone of me creating a language from scratch randomly using a system that I made and therefore has breaks and problems in it. I'm really selling this, but I just need to know what I need you to know what you're in for. Okay? My intention with this is to show you the system in its current state. If you give this video a solid watch and you have feedback as to how I can improve the system, then please, I would love to hear it. Please leave comments down below. I'm more than happy for this to become a space where we're workshopping this kind of first version of this language maker. Because if it has promise, which of course you can tell me as well, this might be worthwhile, doing up and putting somewhere. If not, it's just a tool for me, so that's fine. Be ready for times where I need to speed through things, because I've cut what was effectively a 3-hour process down to a 1-hour video where I can. And so there are certainly times where I have to speed up footage to get through to the next stage of events. P.S. Mondo didn't want to show up for this one, primarily because I didn't want to edit Mondo into a 1-hour long video, because that would take a long time. And also, he's more interested in the world building stuff. He doesn't need to bother himself with the nitty gritty. I'll see you at the end. Good luck.
Hello, and welcome to my language maker. It hasn't got a title yet, so it's just language making, a randomizable system by me. This may look tiny, but it is a long document with lots and lots of work. So we're going to get to it. We are going to be using this document as our list of instructions. We'll be using this document as our kind of like working sheet as to where we put our answers as we go. And the aim of all of this effectively is to get to the point where we have a Markov data set for this language. Now, a Markov data set allows a system, a Markov randomizer, to generate new words out of a list of previously made words. So effectively, all of our vocab is going to go in here at the very, very end. And then this should be something we can plug into a Markov generator to create new words in the language as we need them. So it's all about getting to this end point. From that point on, it should be quote unquote easy to get new words from the language, despite the fact that we need to go through a lot of steps to get our starting vocabulary up and running. First off, step 1, syllables. We did generate 4 random syllables. To generate a random syllable, we are going to this website, generate a random X syllable word, and then roll a DX. Try and pick 4 different lengths of word. DX here refers to a dice, and yeah. So this website I've already got open. It's over here. This is the randomwordgenerator.com. Easy website to find. Okay, so we're going to set our first to just a 1-syllable word. Dome. Fantastic. Now I happen to know where these fit on here. So our first word chunk will be dome. Funnily enough, our 9th will get these 3 put in, and then we'll run through into step 2. Next step, word chunks. We're going to take the 4 original syllables and run each through this table. Make a numbered list of all the results. These are word chunks. Okay, so step 1 is the original syllable, which we have. Step 2, change the first consonant to either 1 up or 1 down in the alphabet. Okay, let's do that for each. Perfect. Change the first consonant to one of your choice. Now, I do like our choice sometimes, but other times I like complete randomness. So, letter type. Oh no, an X for our first one. Oh well, we'll have to live. Zome. Or Gzome. Okay, change the vowel sound into a diphthong. Randomize D8 table below. Okay, so here is our D8 table. So our first one is going to be to a 7, which is oi, as in boy or oil. So this will become. Do we take the original, or do we take the? No, we just take the one above. Okay. So zoim is our first one. Take the original and add an end consonant sound if it doesn't have one. If it does, then swap the positions of the two letters. Okay, so this one doesn't have an end consonant, so I'm going to make this a domit. Beauty. Change out the end letter for one or more letters that make roughly the same sound. Now, in this case, I had it originally as if it's plosive, change it to another plosive. That's kind of what I'm going for here. At this stage, I'm just going to randomize through letters until I find one which, I don't know, has a similar energy. We are taking the original as well. So we're starting from our original chunks. So we're looking for something that has an E, like a light sound. Why? I'm perfectly happy to take that. A domi as opposed to dome. Take the original and cut it to 2 letters long. This may be the same as the original if it was already 2 letters long. Okay, so all right. Take one of the syllables generated and form it into a reasonable 1-syllable word. Add it to the vocabulary with the same meaning as one of these randomized words. Okay, so we're defining our first word for something, which is already exciting. Okay, so I am going to, of course, randomize within, because randomize prompts wherever we can. So from a D1 to 7, the second word on here, come. So come in our language has a meaning. So the word is come. The meaning is going to be one from that D10 list. So come means be. Potentially the conjugated to be in some respect, which is the most important word in a language. So come or come or come, depending on how we end up pronouncing that. It did come from dome, so it might be comb. Yep, so to be comb. I'm going to put down a little pronunciation guide for myself there. You know what? I'm going to put that in the notes section because I can. Comb. All right. Now we do the others. So we have made it through step 2, and we have our first list of word chunks. These are our word chunks. Yep, which will be combined and linked together to make our first words. Okay. Step 3, ancient words. Roll d12s to connect the meanings on the following meaning list into pairs. These words will be related in the new language. You may wish to consider the cultural implications of links between the words. Okay, why these words will share an etymology. Okay, so we'll just clear the results. Okie dokie. So the idea behind here, whether or not this is well phrased, is that we are going to define and make these words in pairs, and what words are paired with what words should start to give us some cultural implications embedded in the language itself. So the word for human will be paired with man. A little bit basic, but it's what the dice has decided. Linked to man, linked to human. Sweet. Use the instructions below to work through the above list and create words for these 12 meanings. After making a word, ensure you complete substep 3 below before making a new one. So after making a word, we'll take it and we'll alter it into a new one, focusing on the second word being a tighter, shorter, sleeker version of the original. If it's a multi-word phrase, then force it down to a singular word. Use this new word for the other meaning in the pairing. Effectively means we make a word, and then we make a very close cousin to that word. And they are the two, the two words that go into that pair of meanings. Okay? So here's how we start to make a word. This is our first word making, with the exception of our not even one syllable, because most of these aren't, but these minor words have already been developed. But we're going to develop words for these 12 here. Okay. Roll a d6 and consult the following table. So this will define the length of the word in chunks, because we then randomize chunks to make up the words. And then there are some alterations that we could do, because it says here, randomize the chunks on your list to create the word. You still define the first 12 words, only randomize from the first list of 32, which yes, we only have 32 chunks at this stage, which is ideal. Feel free to alter small things so it's pronounceable, and ensure you remember and apply all the rules you've determined. We haven't applied any rules yet. That'll come after completing step 5. So at this stage, we're rolling for length, and then we're rolling for the chunks, and then we're putting those chunks together. 2, a 2-chunk word, which means we need 2 rolls of 32, 29, and 25. 29 is deped, with a double P. Do I want the double P? I'll allow it. I'll allow it for the moment. Okay, now we need to make a version of this, which is sleeker, for the connection. So man is going to be a sleeker version of the word for human. I'm going to just call a man a dep. Yep. A sleeker, one-syllabalized version of that. Our next random word that we're defining is not 2 is, okay, so we are going for woman. The word for woman is a 1-chunk word, and that 1 chunk is chunk 26. Oed. Do we want, because we could go Oed or we could go Ode. I do like Ode. Ode. Yeah. Great. It's linked to river, so we actually need a simplified version of woman, which is already pretty simple, for a river. An ed. Or an O. Yeah, there we go. An Ode and an O. I really like that for river, actually, an O. That has a very old feeling to that language. Cool, I like it. Moving right along. So a really interesting thing has just happened in that because we've rolled the same word chunk a couple of times, we have some things that are potentially even more linked. So a ruler is Dao Tenem, a mountain is Dao Ten, a valley is just Dowd, and an ocean is just Dao. So there's a lot of things. So mountains, valleys, and oceans, which is bizarre because they're all very different land forms, all have the same root. So potentially even potentially even just from a basic word like land or landscape. And Dao Tenem being the ruler, maybe like ruler of that landscape. However, what is particularly interesting is the word for valley, Dowd, is exactly the same as the word for beast, Dowd, up here. So when we notice these things, which, let's be honest, there are only going to be a few times where we, even if we fall into this trap that we notice, we're just going to note it down. So linked to ocean and beasts. And then this is linked to valley. Yep. Potentially even if we were to take all the words together, maybe like a derivation is like wild or untamed, maybe. But then again, how does it link with the ruler? Maybe it's the Dao Tenem. Maybe it's a tamer of the wild. Fascinating. All right, but we're ready to move on. We've defined these ancient words. Deped, Dep, Ode, Tipe, Jintin, Dao Tenem, Dao Ten, Dowd, O, Tipe, Jintinting, and Dao. All right. 4. Name the language. Use the steps to create a 3-chunk word for the language itself. Okay, so we're going 3-chunk word, and this word is actually going to live up the top here. Okay, so 3 chunks. 15, 14, 16. Right next to each other. 15, 14, 16. Tin, Tink, Jaung. That is a name. That is a name, particularly this. Titijaung. Now remember, we can simplify alter small things so it's pronounceable. So Tinqong. I think I'm going to take this down to Tinqong as a language. Tinqong. That has enough going on. Yeah, so this is the Tinqong language. Whether or not this is how it's referred to in the world, this is the linguistic tradition's name, the Tinqong language. All right. That's done. Step 5. We roll twice on the following D10 table and follow the instructions. So this starts to give us some of our rules. Okay. So D10. First one is 3. So not gender nouns, not consistent pluralization. A religious core. Interesting. So you take the word you've created for God, create from it a 2-letter or 3-letter chunk that will function as a link back to this word. This word fragment will mean of God, or for God, or gods, etc. Randomize whether this fragment will be used as a prefix or a suffix. Take the words you've made already and randomly select half of them. Apply this fragment to those words and note that there is a divine link inherent in their original meaning. Consider what this decision implies about the culture. And when making future words, decide if a divine link is appropriate and apply it if so. Okay, so we have to take the word that we got for God, which was Jin Ting Ting. Is tin already in use? No, it's close to tipe or tipe, but ting is fine. Now, I realize in my plotting of this, I have, whilst it says make a word chunk, there's no place for us to note that word chunk, so we're just going to note it in our rules box. So, tin refers to a divine link. Now, we have to randomize whether it's a prefix or a suffix. So, 1 is prefix, 2 is suffix. It's a suffix. Refers to a divine link. Okay. Now, we have a look at the words we already have. Do any of them end in tin? Yes, Jintin, which of course is already linked to God. Nice how that turns out. Okay, so that would easily be one of them thus far. So we are randomly selecting half of these words. So we randomize, it's a 16 list, so the first 8 will become deified. All right, ruler, well, that makes sense. So it now is down 10 and 10. Human, Depetin, which, you know, is interesting because once again, it gives it a level of separation from, no, man's on here as well. Man and woman and child, so all humans are good, as are beasts. Fantastic. The family clan is already deified. Child. Tipetan, which gives it a separation from lake. So that's just Tipe, and this is Tipetan. Man gets a bit of deity, Depton. The word for if, Lent. Lenten. Interesting. I wonder why the word for if has a divine connection. Maybe the idea of choice? Sentience, maybe? Beast. Doubtin. Which now means that it and Valley no longer share a complete word. And if we have the divine link for if be about kind of making decisions or sentience, a beast has more sentience than a valley does. And so potentially a beast is somehow like a land or a valley made thinking and feeling. And lastly, woman, Odin. which is very close to Odin, but I like it. Odin. A Depton and an Odin. And everyone is Depetin and Tibetan. Yeah, it's basically it's all of the words that relate to humanity and the family. So all the words for people, effectively, plus the god, have become deified, plus beasts, and plus the word for if. So maybe an uncertainty, or as we keep saying, a sense of the divine is imbued in things that have like movement and clear will, are more divine than potentially what could be seen as a deadish world or a wild world. Like we said, that if this is wild tamed and this is the wild tamer and all of these are just wild places. Fascinating. Okay, so we now know that when we make a new word, we will make a decision, or we will randomize tin as a whether we add tin as a suffix, and it gives it a divine link. All right, we have to roll on this table again for step 5. 9. So not gendered nouns, not consistent pluralization. We already have a religious core. Not compound words, not noun adjective agreements, not a powerful letter, not a historical focus, not prepositional integration, hyphenation. Take the words you have already made and randomly select half of them. Add 1 hyphen to those words between syllables if they are over 1 syllable in length. You may like to decide what the 2 word fragments that have now been generated in each affected word mean in isolation. Ensure these new meanings are noted. When you make a new word, if it is 2 syllables long or longer, insert a hyphen between the syllables. Fantastic. Well, once again, we're going to use this randomizer. 16. So these are all going to become hyphenated. Human becomes hyphenated. Depetin. Given that this is a suffix and not a separate word of its own, Depetin. When you make a new word, if it is 2 syllables long or longer, insert a hyphen between the syllables. Okay, so pretty much everything from here becomes hyphenated if it is long, which the vast majority of them will be. All right, going well. Okay, so step 6, new era. Note on your vocabulary list that a new era of the language has begun. New era. Complete step 1 and step 2 again, but only for 1 new syllable. Therefore, 8 new chunks and 1 new minor word. Alrighty. Consider what pressure has caused the language to evolve. Just time, influence of another culture / language, needs, technology, religion, etc. Okay, so we need to decide what effect has happened on our language here. I'm going to use this as a little mini roll table just now, but we'll decide more in future. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2. Influence of another culture. Okay, so this is the start of maybe trade. Yeah, I'm going to say this is defined by trade. So a lot of these are going to be defined by a trade language where these chunks are going to be borrowed or come through from another language tradition. So not Tinqong base, but from somewhere else. Go for po, pi, go, gob, go, go. Say that 3 times fast. All right. Roll a d6. If it is a 5, you can choose to treat it as a 6 if you think the error pressure is significant enough. Oh, it is a 6. If it's a 6, choose one of the current rules and discard it. Words from here on out no longer obey this rule. So, having just defined these two, one of these is about to leave us. 2. Hyphening gone. So after this era, the concept of hyphenating our language goes away. So these old words are the only ones, at least in our current vocabulary, and they have to come from this era to be hyphenated. Roll a d6. If it's a 5, you can choose to treat it as a 6 once again. That's a 1. So 1, nothing happens. And lastly, roll a d6. If it's a 6 and you believe enough time has passed, you complete step 10 for the entire vocabulary. Nope. Okay, more ancient words. Make words for the following meanings. Keep you true to the rules currently in play. So we're back to just making some good old words for home, town, city, land, food, water, and fire. Alrighty. So back to these. The only rule we have to keep in play is if we want to give it a deific connotation, we add tin as a suffix, but no more hyphenation. All right, home time. Alright, and we've just generated our one syllable word for fire, which is ode again. And so this is linked to woman, which is interesting. That we have a link between fire and woman. I also would like to point out that we've had food be influenced by the new language. We've had water be influenced by the new language. And the word for land is much, much longer than maybe like the old ancient Dauds would suggest. So comforting or comforting being probably a combination and maybe moving towards words that we're going to define next, particularly things like territory. Okay, moving right along. 8. Connections and rolls. Do the same for these words, but you may choose not to roll for word length and instead of a full word to create a prefix or suffix by removing letters from a one chunk word. Okay, so for each of these, I'm going to roll as to whether this is a full word, a prefix, or a suffix. I'm going to give them even chance, so I am going to go for D3. So 1 is a full word, 2 is a prefix, 3 is a suffix. Okay, so territory of is a prefix. Son of is a word. Daughter of is also a word. I wondered if that was going to be different. Save just the hassle. Farmer is going to be a prefix. And warrior is also going to be a prefix. No suffixes here, nothing to interfere with the god suffix, which I do realize that we've only given to the town, but I think that is fine from these. Yeah. Sorry, we've only given it to the home, not even to the town. Could just give it to the town. We could just give it a slippy little, yeah. Denton is a town. Is Depton already used? It's very close to man, Depton. But that is hyphenated. So that's okay. Alright. So, what happens now is we are going to generate a random chunk. We are then going to lower it down to 2 letters as a prefix. Jint. G. And it's a prefix. So there we go. G. So, oh, that's fascinating because of these, which are the only other words currently. Yeah, the only other words currently in our vocab that start with that already. So God and family clan already have territory of knit into their word construction. That's really interesting, particularly for the divine perspective, but it makes sense that territory is linked to family or clan. All right. Son of is just a word, so we're going to do this as per normal. It is only a 1-syllable word though, so 1-syllable word of a 26 variety. Ode again. We have to take what we're given, but son of, fire, and woman. You are the fire of me. You are the, but it's son of as well. So it crosses that gender barrier. Also eventually linked back to river. So we're seeing like an etymological chain where these words exist in a family. And a river of fire is fascinating. An ode, and maybe kind of like the rivulets of flame moving up is how we got there. Fascinating. Really, really interesting that we have that family of words there. All right, daughter. Okay, is a 3. Now, I believe a 3 is a much longer word. A 3 is 2 chunk. We can add a new, so 13 and 9. Jint. Jinting. Now, weirdly enough, territory of is linked here, which is rickety rough. But it is how the dice have fallen out. Jinting. But it's very close to God, incredibly close. Jintinting is the only difference between that and daughter of. And Jintin. Yeah, and they're very closely linked. So in this case, the word is linked to family and God. Like it's one of the most divine words we have. Fascinating. Really, really interesting. And you can see how the system starts to kind of encourage us to be thinking and world-building alongside making the language. All right, the farmer is just a prefix derived from 6 domi. Do is a farmer, and then the warrior is a prefix derived from 22. Menk. Men. Or enk? Enk. Ek. There we go. Prefixes. Do is close to Dowd, which we have as kind of like the untamed thing. Ek is not really come up as a starting syllable too much. So, but we haven't necessarily talked about like war yet as a concept. All right. Now, step 9, rating the ages. Add 4 iterations of the instruction. Complete step 6, then use a new chunk of your choice to your random chunk list automatically on the pre-made sheet as results 33 to 36. Fantastic. So now these are in play. So when we roll now, if we roll one of these, then we complete step 6, which if you recall is about like the age increasing. Okay. Step 10. Wear and tear. We will age the vocabulary we have. Roll a d4 for each word in your vocabulary and apply the following alterations to it. Okay, this takes a little while. I'll let you know. But effectively, this is about allowing the language that is old to start simplifying itself and to start showing a variation, which has like removing letters, removing consonants, or taking things down to even like single syllables. So I'm going to run through this. Okay, we're back after aging all of this up. So there have been mild changes throughout. Some things have remained unscathed. Others have effectively lost complexity. Things have been weathered down by time at the edges. It's a long process, I have to say. But also, I will have to just make a note for each full word, just because I don't think prefixes and suffixes need this done to them. All right, names. Names are often either empty words, refer to a forebear, refer to a location, or refer to a trade. Roll a d4 and check the table there. Great, because this sets the average length, and or if there is a cultural prefix suffix denoting internal differences. Okay, so our naming conventions. D4. 2. The average length of a name is only one chunk long. That's it. When making a new name, instead of rolling for a number of chunks like in the normal word, instead roll D4 and consult the following table. Use the average, use one above, one below the average, or use a pre-existing word from the vocab and copy it down exactly. It is now a common name. Okay, so just to begin, because we are having 10, we make 10 names here. So name 1. 3, we can go above or below. Okay, so we can't actually go below, so we'll just go for 1. I believe we are still rolling on a D44. Yep. 40, so pi. Pi is a name. Great. Next. 3. It's above or below again. Okay. So this is a 2-chunk name. Oh no. So 12. Young. But 35 is a complete step 6. So, whilst in the middle of generating our names, we go back to step 6 because we note that a new error has occurred. New error of language. So at this point, the only ancient name that we know of is pi. Okay. So we then have to complete step 1 and step 2 again, but for one new syllable. And then we get to use one of the new syllables generated. 2, which I believe is a light. Jaunhilite? Yes, Jaunhilite. That is certainly a new name. Now we go back into step 6. Which actually might affect that even further. Consider what pressure. We'll just go with D6 again. 2. Once again, another culture. another trade. Yeah, which I'm going to say is still not like a massive shift, but we'll see. Okay. D6 to see if we lose a rule. No. D6 to see whether we gain a rule. You know what? I'm going to say yes, just because it's interesting. Okay. Which means that we treat the 5 as a 6. We roll on the table at step 5, complete the instructions, but only apply the ruleful words here on out, not retroactively. Okay. So from here on out, step 5, we have a 5. Noun adjective agreements. Generate 1 or 2 chunk words for the following meanings. Okay. Good, bad, large, small, powerful, and weak. They're only 1 chunk each, which is good. But now we're no longer a 44 table. What are we now? We're a 52 table? 52 table. Fascinating. So once again, we are maybe learning some things about kind of cultural understanding of, like, if good here. Oh, did we not define? No. If good here is linked to weakness, that is really significant in the philosophy of this culture. At least the culture that has developed in these new eras that we're looking at. Fascinating. Decide or randomize whether an adjective rests before or after a noun in the syntax structure. The adjective rests after the noun. Use a random word and place a chosen adjective next to it. Okie dokie. So this is the first time that we're randoming from our vocabulary itself. Adjectives are ready. It's 21. Land. Okay, fine. Competent. Okay. So we're going to take this. I'm just going to move it down into a work area. Competent, which means land. Use a random noun and place a chosen. Screw your chosen. A random adjective next to it. Okay, so I assume these are the adjectives that we're referring to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Small. A small land. A competent go, because we know that the adjective comes after the noun. Alter the adjective to reflect something from the noun, a key sound or a letter. Competent gok. Ends in the same letter. Establish this as a rule to see how adjectives become modified to reflect their nouns. Apply this rule to 3 other random words to check its effectiveness. Alter the rule if required. Okay, so at this point, it's it shares the last letter of the noun, just as an easy one. Okay, so in this case, adjective rests after the noun in the structure, and they modify to add the last letter of the noun to their spelling. Okay. Done, done, done. Back to step 6. Okay. If it is 6, and if you believe enough time has passed, complete steps 10 for your entire vocabulary, which is the aging one. Oh no. Time to age. Non-gracefully. Hello and welcome back. We have aged up the language. So, once again, there have been some loss of letters throughout, and things have, despite their previous links, have separated in terms of them being the exact same word. Okay. This is still within step 6. I will remind us. This is still within our redo of step 6, which I believe we have now completed. Yes. So we are back to doing our names. So all of that was for the Halide, so for the name Zhong Halide. Okay, let's keep it going. We know that our average is 1. Okay, so we just have to use 1 here. Our current amount of syllables is at 52. At 52, great. So is, oh, this word is going to get some use. I can tell. All right, next. 4. Okay. Now this one I really like. We just get to randomize a word that we already have on the table, and it is also another name. So I'm going to go up to 29. Doesn't need to be a full word. Oh, the first word ever. Co. So to be is also a word. Also, be. Nice. All right. Four is Xiom. We actually get some of the X's. Xiom. Xiomgol. Ooh, this is a fun one. Xiomgol. Yeah, just chances dictated that the X's have not come up that often. There's only 2 results on the table with it, but it's interesting. It's interesting that we're here now. This is the first time we've used this word chunk. Very good. Whew. Okay, so we've done our names. Cultural vocabulary. Generate 10 words of your choice that will be relevant and important to the people of this culture. If you don't have a fixed culture per se that you're building this language for, then randomize some 2-syllable words until you find 10 that are worth defining. All right. So, given that this language, Tinqong, is for the culture that lives on the isle, the island or the town of beasts. Sorry, of wolves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we already know some things that they would like to know. So things like tower, metal, island, waterfall, star, moon, wolf, just trying to remember what else we knew about them from our generation. We know that they're creative. I mean, art. We know they don't like swimming after dark. And let's go music, because it's linked to that, to the room. And it's also linked to magic. Okay. So, we're going back to our rules for step, not step 6, but just making words. which is interesting because that might start to suggest the name for the metal for the whole world, particularly if it originates from here. Singmei. A Singmei sword. It does have a good ring to it. We might have to stick with it. Okay. Fine. Step 6. What's the pressure? 3. 1, 2, 3. So, okay, this is certainly an interaction with another language. Let's maybe pencil this down for like the colonial interaction. That has changed their names for these things. But we'll see. Okay. Then D6. Okay, we get rid of a rule. Okay, there's 2 rules currently in play. The tin divine suffix and the adjectives. We're going to get rid of the... Oh, that's fascinating. This is where they lose their religion. Okay, I'm just going to have a brief look back through. It's fascinating that their word for star is a clear indication of when the religious rule leaves. Almost in the standard sense of a Renaissance. A standard sense of science coming in and redefining how central God and religion is. Okay. Do we get a new rule? Look, despite the fact it's going to add 1,000,000 years to this video, it's probably worthwhile getting a new rule up. Actually, no, I lie. The loss of religion is important enough. And then the D6, do we need to age? No, we do not. Okay, so now we pick a random new syllable from our new chart of 68. T. Domeglideg geometry. It's a name for a star, which is elaborate. All right. Mancockme. I'm a child. All right. Good heavens. All right. We have a 58 word vocabulary. And we are down at here. So construct Markov. You take all the words you have generated and all the chunks and separate them out into a paragraph with each word separated by a space. Use the Markov generated from here to generate new words from your language. After generating, ensure you apply all the current rules to the word. There'll be no new errors from here. The language has arrived at its final form. If you wish to evolve further, then do the following. Step 6, Step 12. Add these new words and chunks to the Markov paragraph. Okay, so I have to take some time because I have to write all of this out into a Markov data set. So I will return in a moment once I've done that. And just like that, I've completed our Markov data set. So this is the data set from which our new words will be derived. We can now go to our good friend, Don John, and you can see here that they already have a loaded in data set here. We should be able to generate some new names and some new words in the language. You can see that they already start to devolve out from where we've been, but this allows us to have a language that is a little bit more evolving, changing. It still uses the same kind of like letters in roughly the same frequencies, but it allows us to very quickly just keep going and name a bunch of stuff. Look at this. Near infinite names, yeah, that use what we have already made, and we can start to make some links around. All that to say, we have finished making the language. There is more steps on my document, but they are for super nerds. So going into syntax and working out the syntax structure of your sentence, and then if you want to actually start writing sentences in the language, there is some necessary things down here. This is a bit beyond me to create tables for, so I really have just done suggestions. And also, given that we're world building, for the most part, we don't need to speak the language. We just need to be able to know the language as it relates to people's names and maps and historical eras, etc., which we already have the capability to do. All right, thank you for joining for such a long video. We'll head back to the chair now.
Hello, weary traveller. You have survived, and I'm very proud of you. We've been on a journey today. We've walked through the evolution of the language. This language is called Tinqong. I realize that's a shorter name than what was put at the top of that document. The reason for that is I went back afterwards and I applied the 3 weathering, or the 3 wear and tear stages to the name of the language, because I'd forgotten to do that. And that kind of evolved it down to just Tinqong. Thank you very much. I hope you found that interesting. And like I said at the top of this video, please leave me advice, comments, thoughts down below. Things that you would like to see, things you think are maybe extraneous or unnecessary, so we can make that a better experience and product. I know there were certain times where I was speeding through, but I was definitely feeling the length and sometimes, yes, the strength of, but also the inefficiency of certain stages. So I'm fully aware that the product is not perfect. And so if you think you've found a solution or an aspect of it that you'd like me to know about, please let me know. Thank you very much for watching. I am fully intending for next to no one to get to this point. But if you are at this point, know that you are a very rare person and I value you dearly. I hope to see you back on the main channel for Exploring with Mondo soon.